Quilt Chat. Good to see you back here. I hope you had a nice weekend. Hope you had a fruitful weekend in your sewing room. If you had a little bit of time to sew, that would be nice. I hope you did. I did get to do some things this weekend. I kind of veered away from things that I really needed to do to some things that I just wanted to do. But I did make some progress on the Barnstar sampler. So I'll show you that. I have 2 block number 7s that I needed to get done for July, and I have 1 of them done. And the other one, I think I'm going to swap out the pink and the light print for the second one. But they'll basically be out of those same 3 or 4 fabrics. I did use, this one called for a different background. So I got some of the Felicity, as you know, I'm using a lot of Felicity fabrics for this one. As a matter of fact, I think all of these are Felicity fabrics. But there's this one here that's kind of swirly. And you know, my background fabric that I'm using is this shade of white, kind of a barely a cream shade, but since it had that design in it, it's going to give it a little bit of a shadowy effect. And those are the only 2 blocks that are like that on the entire quilt. I'll show you. Now they use teal on theirs, and it's right here and here. So those ones you can definitely see all the way around the square. So I thought I better stick with that design element. The original plan was to use the same background for everything, but since they did it that way, I went this tiny bit of a shade different, only because this design is in here. So I'm going to finish up my other block of that today. So that'll be July assignment out of the way for the Barnstar sampler. I'm also going to lay out my duster fabric today and cut out my pattern pieces for the outside. I'm not planning on doing the lining just yet. I want to see how far I can get with the sewing so that I can reuse those pattern pieces on the lining without interruption, if that makes sense. So I'd like to get the outside shell done, take those pattern pieces, all of them, and put them on my lining fabric, and then pan and cut those out separately, and then you basically make another coat, another duster with the lining, and then you attach the 2 together, just like when you're doing a tote bag or something and you turn it inside out. It's kind of like that, not quite, but kind of like that. But I'm going to need all those pattern pieces to put them down on that lining. So for this week, I'm just going to cut out the main outer shell pattern pieces from the fabric that I've constructed, that I've been showing you guys, those yards and yards of fabric that I have. So I'm gonna try to delve into that today and make a little more progress on that. I didn't do a whole lot last week. I just got that fabric pieced together like it's supposed to be, and then I just kind of left it at that. But I needed a break from it. So I went off and did do some other things. One other thing that I did, totally brand new, was the Fat Quarter Shop pressed flowers. Now this is a monthly pattern that comes in their Sew Sampler boxes, and I don't have the Sew Sampler box, but you can get those patterns on the Fat Quarter Shop website. They're not free. So if you have a friend that has the Sew Sampler box and you want to make these blocks, maybe they will let you borrow their pattern, and that's perfectly okay to do. You just can't reproduce the pattern for commercial purposes like sewing it or anything like that. So here is pressed flower number 1, and this is a delphinium. Now the recommendation for the pattern, well, the instructions are that you would use a line of fabric for all of your blocks, but they represent, each block represents a different type of flower. So I'm kind of going the fresh flower route instead of the pressed flower route. So this is a delphinium, is kind of a bluish purple color, and so I did mine like that. I'm using the same background and leaf material throughout as I can. This is, let me show you the next one and you'll be able to tell a little bit better what I'm using. This one is the, I'm not going to be able to remember what it is. Those little flowers that pop up in the spring with the daffodils. What are they called? Not jonquils. I can't remember. But anyway, you can see a little bit better. I'm using a white on white Liberty fabric as the background. And then I'm using this dot right here. This is a Moda fabric too, I believe. Not two, but it's a Moda dot. I'm pretty sure it is. So what is that called? What is this flower called? Number 2 pressed flower of the Fat Quarter Shop Sew Sampler Box patterns. And then this one is a pansy. So I just tried to kind of copy what a pansy really looks like and went that route with it. So it's a little bit closer. These are so much fun to do. They go together so good, and they're so simple, and it's just a no-brainer kind of project. So yeah, I really love this delphinium. I don't know if these will be set on point when they're done or not, or will they be like this? I don't know. So far they've all been, if you put them straight up and down, they would have to be on point, but they might be situated. I haven't seen a full pattern layout on these because I think they're kind of the mystery concept. You don't really know what the next one's going to be. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's right. So those were super, super fun to do. And I think I did all 3 of them in one day. And they will fit in a project box. I need to start a project box for this, but I just stuck them on one of my hangers, one of my skirt hangers. Did y'all get yourself some of these hangers? These are really nice. Now what I like to do, I don't starch my fabric ahead of time, but once I have my block finished, I starch it and then I trim it, and then they're ready to be put together. If you hang them like this, you can just start putting them together once you have them all finished, and you don't have to stop and iron and starch out your entire top. You can just, they're all done already. That's my method. So I don't know. Another thing I've been wanting to do, and I think I mentioned it last week, is that cat on that Halloween thing from Fat Quarter Shop. It was just a small wall hanging project, and it had a cat on it. And I've mentioned many times I don't celebrate holidays, and you know, I didn't want to do this project for Halloween, of course, because I wouldn't be celebrating Halloween. But I love that cat that was incorporated in it. So I made one, and I did alter the tail a little bit. In their pattern, they just had a block here, kind of just floating, and then a block down here that was kind of just floating. You know, it didn't have this little connective piece here. And then, yeah. So I made my tail a little more curly. And then I wish I would have did the same angling process right here, slightly, Maybe not as much as this, but I think the next one that I make, if I make another one, I will put a stitch and flip here on each side and soften that face just a little bit. But the rest of it I just really like, and this will make a cute little wall hanging. I was thinking of making 2 more, maybe a white cat or a gray cat or something like that. But this little ginger cat, he's just super cute. This was a super fun project too. So if you just want a little cat quilt project, this is an easy one. So I did that for fun. So I've had a lot of fun in the sewing room this week, or over the past, weekend too. And I don't know, sometimes you just kind of have to veer away from your schedule. You just get that feeling that, you know, I just can't do what's on the schedule today. I need to do something else. And that's okay. But it is good still to keep a schedule of your projects, and that way they're on your mind and you don't lose completely where you're at on your project or what needs to be done next, because you're writing it down. And that way none of these projects will ever become UFOs. They're works in progress. So that is what I have done so far in my little tracker here for this week. I've already gotten it filled out. So as I mentioned, I'm going to work on the Barnstar sampler today and finish that other block, which is very simple. And then lay out my duster pattern and cut that out. That won't take that long. And then tomorrow, Tuesday, I'm going to get the June Happy Days block of the month back out and work on at least one of those applique blocks, those half size blocks that I have to make 8.5 of. I got that one done I showed you on Friday, so I'm going to put down here on Tuesday to do at least one of those. But I may actually be able to do more because I'm farther along in preparing some of those pieces overall. So I may be able to get a couple of them done. And then I will also be making a video for Wednesday, and it'll be a tutorial, and it will be a tote bag. And if you want to follow along on that project, you need 2 yards of fabric, 2 different fabrics that coordinate, preferably one that's kind of low volume and one that's a little bit more, you know, has a definite design to it, something you just really want to pop. And then your other side could actually be even a solid if you wanted, or a canvasy color or something more toned down. But you will see both colors on both sides of the tote bag, and that should be enough for handles as well. So you'll see that video on Wednesday and be able to do a new little tote bag pattern. It's optional with the boxed bottom. You either can leave it not boxed or box it. It will make it shorter if you box it. And then it'll also have an optional closure on the top. So be looking through your fabric stash for some fabrics that you want to use for a tote bag. And it will be using a stabilizer, or you may use a very thin batting if you wanted to do some quilting on your pieces before you construct the tote bag. So get ready for that, and I will be working on that on Tuesday. The emptying of the bins that I've been doing has resulted in me doing a little more organization as well, with some projects that I had in a some sort of finished stage. For example, quilt tops. You guys know I've been working on quilt tops and getting them ready to send to the long armor. And I'm also finding some other smaller projects. I'm going to send her my bigger ones, but I have some smaller ones like this one. This was the Moda Love Carpenter Star I think it was a challenge a few months ago, and I did this one out of this French General fabric from Moda, and I would like to get this one basted, quilted, and bound this week, and I have that down for Wednesday. That's my only thing I have down for Wednesday, so I should, in theory, if unless another mood strikes me, be able to get one of these types of projects completed 100%. I have two more like that I want to do. I have the library quilt, and I have the Pat Sloan's block a day from March, the black and white Fleur Noir that I did. I think I can probably quilt that on my machine. It's a little bit bigger than this and a little bit bigger than the library quilt, but not as big as a bed-size quilt. So those are some quilting, actual free motion quilting projects that I have to do, that I have uncovered. And so I'm going to try to get some of those on the schedule before I go on to any more large projects. I have the Happy Days that I was just talking about, the applique. I have that down several times this week to work on those. I'm not promising myself that I'm going to finish those this week, but I do need to make a pretty significant dent so that I will feel better about starting the 2 July blocks for the Happy Days. And those, I was looking again, and those both are applique as well, but they're normal sized blocks with a scene on them that you do in applique. So that is down a few days this week to work on, at least a little bit. And I'm still working on getting my bigger quilts ready for the long armor to get. And so hopefully next week I can meet with her if she's available, and I can drop those off, and then we'll be starting to get some quilts back in that you've seen me make over the last year and a half. You'll get to see them all quilted up and ready to be used. So that is what I have this week on the schedule. I have 8 of those quilts, as a matter of fact. 8. I have 8 big quilts to send to the long armor. Here is the quilt of the week. It's called Drifting Along, and it's only 45 by 41. That's pretty cool. Kind of spacey looking, yet in a colorful sort of way, with all those starbursts and those circles, and also some of them kind of look like mirror ball. That's pretty cool, isn't it? And then the background is kind of an ombre, an in and out sort of configuration of ombre. It's called Drifting Along by Karen Kuske, K-U-S-K-E, of Loudon, Tennessee. She says, EQ7, which is a quilting software, was most helpful to Karen as she created the design for this quilt. Stars are paper pieced and enhanced with Swarovski crystals. The globes are raw edge applique. She used both traditional cottons and batik fabrics, adding some fabrics with metallic accents in the stars. Karen did her own machine quilting using both digital and hand-guided designs. Drifting Along was displayed at a mountain quilt fest in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Yeah, check out the quilting on this. Isn't that just heavenly? She's calling these globes paper piecing. We won't ever be able to see, probably in this photo, the crystals and the metallic. But if you ever get a chance to go to a quilt show, like in Paducah, you'll see quite a few quilts like that they've studded their quilts with crystals and gems and things like that. I did not see as much of that this year as I did last year. So I'm kind of wondering if it's going out of fashion. And of course, to get this ready for 2023, this is probably a quilt from 2021 maybe. So, or even before that. So it's something that has came in strong, and it's lessened a little bit this past year. We'll see what happens next year with it, if it's something that they're still doing, blinging out your quilt with crystals. So yeah, very pretty, lovely colors. So the paper piecing, I wanted to do a reminder on that. The foundation paper piecing project. I mentioned this on the Facebook group this week, and somebody said, did I miss that? So either I didn't, it didn't stand out much on my last video that I made about it, or I don't know. I'm going to mention it again. But foundation paper piecing, we're going to be starting in August. And I thought about going ahead and setting a date for that. There's going to be a series of tutorials on it. Let me look at the August calendar. August 1st starts on a Tuesday. So it will be August the 3rd. We will have our first video out on that. And that's called Twisting Spiral Heart. This is on Etsy. It's $3.85. You will have to go out and buy your pattern, and I will put that in the description box, the link to that particular shop, and you can go ahead and purchase your digital pattern for that. So if you've never downloaded a digital pattern, you just go in and you just buy it like you're buying a paper pattern piece, and then you'll get a email, and you'll have a download button on your email. And when you hit that download button, then the PDF copy of this will appear on your screen, and then you can just send that to your printer. Or you can take your phone, if you've got your email on your phone, take that to a Office Depot or Staples or wherever, and let them help you print that off. So yes, Twisting Spiral Heart. It takes a background and at least 2 different colors of fabrics, and we're going to learn how to foundation paper piece. And like I mentioned before, I have done foundation paper piecing before. There's a special ruler that you need to get for it called a 1/4 inch ruler. It's a little yellow ruler. Sometimes there's pink ones too. But little yellow ruler that has a thinner edge with a ridge that's a 1/4 inch wide. So you're going to need that. So start assembling your materials for this project if you want to participate. Perhaps you've never done foundation paper piecing and you would like to learn. So we can learn doing this. 2 sizes in here. Once you print all this off, it's 11 pages. You can decide if you want to do a 6-inch or a 12-inch example of this heart. And you can make as many of these as you want. Once you make your first one, you can just continue and make more. And you can even make them scrappy. Let's see, this one right here is done scrappy. The other ones are 2-color. So you can think about that and jump on board with us on that if you would like to do that. So I wanted to mention that again. August the 3rd, August the 2nd will be Yes, August the 2nd will be the first video tutorial that you will see on this. Trying to write and talk at the same time is not always a great idea for me. Okay, so lots of fun stuff. I'm feeling really good about going through some stuff, going through some scraps, going through my bins, doing a little cleaning. We're more than halfway through the year now, and we did all of that cleaning in December and reorganizing and whatever all you had to do. It's time now to kind of go through things again. If you've been busy in your sewing room like I have, you have to kind of just stop and do some necessary things, and it's really cleansing to do that. So by all means, stop everything on your projects and do that, and you'll really get a jump start on everything you have ahead to do. I put a new block up for July back here. These are the Barn Quilt Minis, and there's one for each month of the year, and that is the July block. Honestly, I'm not for sure if that's really the original July. I'd have to pull the patterns out to see. But according to the ones that I've had up for the first 6 months, this one was next on the stack. And the ones after that were starting to look a little fallish and winterish. So I'm thinking that's the right one. So there's that to enjoy. So let's just wrap this up then, and we will see you guys on Wednesday for that tote bag tutorial. Stay tuned for that, and we'll see you back here on Finish It Friday for my finishes and yours to share with the world. If you want to send something in, please by all means do so, and pay attention to the guidelines in the description box on submitting photos for your finishes. All right, have a great productive week, and we'll see you back here real soon. Bye.